Welcome to the next episode of Small Business Legal Tips. I'm attorney Mark Bross of Bross Law LLC. Today we're going to talk about how to start a Massachusetts LLC. I'll go through all the steps that need to be taken in order to set it up properly so that it works and protects your personal assets from the liabilities of the business. And please, if you like the information you're receiving in this video, please hit the like button and also ring the bell in order to get notifications of the next time video drops. Before I begin talking about how to start an LLC, I need to make a caveat, which I make at the beginning of every video, which is that although I'm an attorney, I am not your attorney. The information I offer in this video is not a substitute for legal advice. If you'd like to work with me, please feel free to reach out to me at my website, www.brosslawllc.com. I'll drop a link below so that you can reach out to me through there. Before I begin talking about how to start a Massachusetts LLC, I want to make sure we're on the same page. A Massachusetts LLC is an entity that's formed under the laws of Massachusetts. The law in particular is MGL 156C. And LLCs are fantastic entities. If they're set up properly and work properly, they can, generally speaking, protect your personal assets from the liabilities of the business. So let's get to it. The first step in forming a Massachusetts LLC is to choose a name for your LLC. And there are two requirements that need to be met. The first requirement is that it has to have the words limited liability company or limited company, or their abbreviations LLC or LC at the end of the name. The second requirement is the name cannot be confusingly similar to any other corporation or LLC that's already formed in Massachusetts. It doesn't matter if there's a name in another state that's similar. It just matters whether there's a name in Massachusetts that is confusingly similar to. And the way you want to check on that is to go to the Mass Division of Corporations website. There's a corporation search where you can run your name through to make sure there's no other entity with that name. I'll drop a link below to the website where you can go run a search to make sure there is no entity which has a confusing or similar name. Now, after you find the right name for your LLC, the next step is to choose a location. Now, the location I'm talking about here is the location where the records for your LLC are going to be stored. And the location has got to be at an address in Massachusetts. It can't be a P.O. box, but it's got to be an actual physical address where your records are going to be stored. Now, the records I'm talking about are the records that are required by the LLC Act. And these are records like, what are the names of the members who are the LLC? What are their addresses? How much money have they contributed to the LLC? What kind of operating agreement the LLC has? And lots of other information, such as tax years for the prior 3 years and lots of other things. Now, the address I usually recommend to my clients that they choose is the address, which is the principal address of the business. But it doesn't have to be. It's just got to be an address where the records can be stored. And it can be the home address of one of the members or some other address where they can be stored. The next step in forming a Massachusetts LLC is to appoint a resident or registered agent. And whether it's called registered or registered agent doesn't really matter. It's just different statutes call it a different thing. Under the corporation statute, it's called a registered agent. Under the LLC, it's called a resident agent. But the person serves the same purpose. And a resident agent is a person who's authorized under the statute to accept a summons and complaint on behalf of the LLC. So it's not really a hard job, but it's a very important job, because if a summons and complaint is served on that person, that means the LLC has been served, and the LLC only has 20 days to respond to the summons and complaint. Now, there are really only two requirements to be a resident agent. The first requirement is it's got to be a resident of Massachusetts or authorized to do business in Massachusetts. And the second requirement is that the person has an address in Massachusetts. That's it. Those are the only two requirements. However, that person it's going to be a public record as to who the resident agent for the LLC is, because the resident agent is going to be named in the certificate of organization. My clients usually ask me who should be resident agent for my LLC. And I usually recommend that it just be one of the members, but they have to be comfortable with having their address posted online. And it has to be an address that they make sure to check the mail regularly. But if they're not comfortable doing it, there's lots of different services which can serve as resident agent. I do it on behalf of some of my clients, but I know other services that do it as well. Before I move on to the next step, I want to take a moment to ask you to please hit the like button or subscribe button if you're finding this information helpful or entertaining. This channel is all about providing business owners and entrepreneurs with the tools they need in order to successfully operate their business and protect their personal assets. So if you're finding this information helpful, please hit the like button and ring the bell below. The next step in forming a Massachusetts LLC is you need to complete and file a certificate of organization. And this is a big step because once the certificate of organization is filed, then your LLC officially exists. In order to draft a certificate of organization, you're going to need to obtain a form online from the Mass Division of Corporations, or you can file it directly with the Mass Division of Corporations. I'll drop a link to both locations below so you know where to obtain them. When you're completing your certificate of organization, you're going to be asked for various types of information. You're going to be asked for what is the name of the LLC, which we already have from step 1. You're going to also be asked for what is the address where the records are going to be stored for the LLC, which we've already identified in step 2. You're also going to be asked to identify who the name and the address of the resident agent is. And also, just so you know, the resident agent is going to have to sign the certificate of organization as well. You're also going to be asked for the general character of your business. So you'll have to describe what your business does. And I usually recommend, no matter what your business does, you also tack on and any other business permitted by Massachusetts law. So that way, if you change your business, you don't need to amend your certificate of organization to do so. In addition to that information, you're going to also be asked for name and address of people who are authorized to sign forms with the Mass Division of Corporations. And again, all these are going to be public records, so you should identify each of the members who are going to be allowed to file forms with the Mass Division of Corporations. Another thing you're going to be asked for is the names and addresses of anyone who's authorized to file documents with the Registry of Deeds. So you should name whatever member or whatever person you want to be able to do that. You're going to be asked for all sorts of other information in connection with the certificate of organization. Much of it's pretty straightforward. Now, one thing I will point out is that in the form online at the Mass Division of Corporations that you download, there's a spot where it asks you for the federal EIN. Do not enter this information. Even though the form asks for it, you are not required to file your EIN with your certificate of organization. And if you file directly online, then you're not prompted for that. But the PDF form you download from the Mass Division of Corporations still requests it, but you don't need to do it. Now, when you file your certificate of organization, so you're going to have to pay a fee, and it's going to be either $500 or $520, depending on the method you file it. And for most people, it's going to be $520 because the only way it's $500 is if you actually file it in person with the Mass Division of Corporations or you send it by mail. At this day and age, most people either file online directly or file by fax, in which case it's $520. After your LLC is filed, the next step you want to take is to obtain an EIN and file anything else with the Mass DOR or the federal government that needs to be filed for tax purposes. In order to obtain an EIN, you should go online to the IRS website where you can obtain the EIN directly. I'll drop a link below to the website where you can do that. When you're obtaining your EIN, you're going to be asked all sorts of various questions. You're going to be asked for the name of the LLC, the address of the LLC, the name of the responsible party for the LLC, which is going to be one of the members, because you're going to have to identify their social security number in connection with that. One thing you're going to be asked for in connection with obtaining the EIN is how the LLC is going to be taxed. And for this, I recommend you speak with an accountant if you're not sure, because an LLC is very flexible and you can choose to be taxed in a variety of different ways. The default taxation for a single member LLC is being taxed as a sole proprietorship. The default taxation for a multi-member LLC is as a partnership. However, LLCs can choose to be taxed as corporations, whether it be an S or a C corporation. And so this is something that may be indicated on the EIN. So if you're not sure how to complete the EIN, speak with an accountant who can help you do so. Now, one thing I will warn about is there are various websites, usually end by .com, that also offer to obtain the EIN. Don't go to any of those. The only place you should get the EIN from is the irs.gov website. And again, I'll put the link below as the location you need to go to obtain the EIN. And the others, who knows where your information is going, and there's no need to do it because it's quick and easy through the IRS. And after you complete the form, you'll obtain the EIN quickly within minutes. Make sure whatever form you obtain from the IRS, you download and store with the records so that you have it in connection with the business. An EIN form will also be mailed to you, but that's just going to be a duplicate of what you receive online with other information. After you get your EIN, the next step is to open up a bank account for your LLC. This is a critical step that you want to make sure to take. Even if you are a sole proprietor that's now becoming an LLC, you want to make sure and open up a separate bank account for your LLC. LLCs only work to protect your other personal assets to the extent they operate as completely separate entities from you and you don't intermingle assets. So you want to have a bank account where all payments that you get from clients go into that bank account, and also all payments that are paid out by the LLC come from that bank account. So the LLC needs to have its own bank account and it needs to have its own funds. One question I often get asked by clients is how much money should I put in the bank account? And it really varies by business to business. What you want to make sure is when you're opening your bank account is, first of all, to put in the minimum that's required by the bank in order to avoid any fees. But you also want to put in enough to get the business started and up and running. So whatever that amount is, it will vary from business to business. You want to put in that amount in the bank account when you're first starting up your LLC. The next step in creating your Massachusetts LLC is to draft and create an operating agreement. And although I put it after getting your EIN and getting a bank account, it's really something that should be worked on all along after your LLC is formed, and probably even before your LLC is formed. And although it's not technically required under the Massachusetts LLC Act, it really is one of the most essential documents, and every LLC should have one, even a single member LLC. The types of information that should go into an operating agreement are things such as who are the names of the members of the LLC, what is the address of the members of the LLC, how much money are they contributing, or what types of services are they contributing, what percentage of the company do they own, how is the LLC being taxed, how is the LLC being managed, and is it manager managed or member managed, and all sorts of other things. It's really very important for you to have one, and it basically serves as the handbook for how your LLC is gonna run and operate. If you need help in connection with drafting one, I would recommend you speak with an attorney. Don't necessarily trust any online version that you download because they may not be correct and serve how you actually want your LLC to work. The next step you want to take in connection with your LLC is you want to obtain insurance. Now, a lot of my clients are surprised when I tell them they should obtain insurance because they think the LLC should protect them. But as I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, LLC does not necessarily protect all your personal assets, and you could still be potentially liable if you commit a tort in connection with your LLC or the business. So you need to make sure and get insurance for your LLC. Now, the type of insurance you get is going to vary from business to business. So you want to make sure and speak with an insurance agent and explain to them what your business is and ask them what type of insurance you need, because it will change from business to business. Don't skip on this step. It's critical that you get insurance for your LLC. The final step in setting up your LLC is to obtain whatever licenses and permits are needed to operate your business. And like insurance, this is going to vary from business to business. And the types of licenses and permits are going to vary wildly depending on what type of business you're operating. Check with your local town, check with the state, and check with the federal government to see what licenses and permits you might need. And make sure and get them before you start operating the business. And also make sure that where needed, that the license is not just for the LLC, but also for the individuals in connection with the LLC. So that's it. Once you've taken all these steps, you've officially started your Massachusetts LLC. Congratulations. If you have any questions or want me to cover any other topics, please drop them in the comments below. And please, if you like this video, please hit the like button and ring the bell to get notified when the next video drops. And thank you so much for checking out this video, and I'll see you next time.